One of the big things about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies that we hear all the time is, oh, just wait until the governments regulate it, right? We hear that all the time. And everybody's just waiting until it's regulated. And I'm like, well, did you realize it's already like the most regulated asset that's out there? Most people have no idea. They think, oh, just wait, they're going to regulate it. It's like, it's already regulated. It's already the most regulated asset. So what do I mean by that? Well, Bitcoin is regulated by the IRS, right? So they have guidance over it. It's regulated by the SEC, by the CFTC, Commodities Futures Exchange. It's regulated by FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Unit. And so all of these federal agencies, all of these bodies already regulate Bitcoin. You don't see that with other assets. So, for example, equities, like a stock, for example, is regulated by the SEC, but it's not regulated by FinCEN. It's not regulated by the CFTC, only by the SEC. But yeah, Bitcoin, we have every single body, every single regulatory agency has already exerted their power over it. And we're seeing this more and more, and we're starting to see like this power struggle of, well, who ultimately is going to regulate Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? And so we've started to see recently quite a bit the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, headed by Gary Gensler, has started to become much more vocal about it. But they're doing it from a place of really kind of working behind the 8 ball. So instead of driving it, they're kind of trying to catch up. And by doing that, it's kind of leaving this ambiguous tone over it and almost making it so vague that it looks like their powers could almost extend to the entire space. But the other regulatory agencies maybe aren't okay with that. And I think it's time to try to get some clarity as to what's going on. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. As a matter of fact, we see there's a U.S. Senate bill. So the Senate has put a bill together that will give the CFTC, remember that's the Commodities Futures Exchange, give the CFTC crypto market oversight. But it doesn't say how much. So the Senate is trying to come forward and say, hang on. Like, you guys are making this way too messy, way too difficult. We need to get this cleaned up, clarified so we can move forward. So they said that the Senate bill they're trying to put through would give it to the CFTC. That's what they're saying. The measure would make the Commodities Futures Trading Commission the watchdog for most, that's a key word, most of the market. But it doesn't define whether tokens are securities or commodities. And so that is the crux of the argument. Are tokens securities or are they commodities? So Gary Gensler, SEC, has been pretty clear. It's been, and before him, his predecessors, it's been pretty clear that Bitcoin is a commodity. Bitcoin is not a security. It doesn't meet any of the criteria of a commodity. Doesn't meet the Howey test, which is the test they would define, test to see whether it is a commodity or a security. They thought Ethereum, they said that Ethereum probably was a security, but then could have evolved into a commodity. But now Gary Gensler is starting to say that, maybe, I don't know, Bitcoin could still be a security. And then he said pretty much every other token is a security. Now, they haven't actually put out formal guidance on this. Of course, we're starting to see some problems that Coinbase is going to have to deal with, so we're going to see how this shakes out. But that's the crux of the argument. If it's a commodity, then it goes to CFTC. If it's a security, then it goes to the Securities and Exchange Commission. It says here, the latest U.S. legislative effort to steer most crypto oversight to the CFTC has bipartisan support. That means both sides of the aisle support that, but does little to answer the crypto industry's top question, which is, what's the top question? What makes a token a security or a commodity? Now, again, we have pretty clear guidance on what a security is. We have the Howey test. The problem is we have a 100-year-old rule trying to fit a brand new technology that's a lot of things that we don't even know what it is yet. And so the problem is that you're using this old, outdated scale to try to measure something that doesn't neatly fit into that. And it says the legislation from the leaders of the Senate's committee would require crypto firms involved in the trading of assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum to register with the CFTC as their primary regulator. something industry leaders such as FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried are cheering from the sidelines because they all want some sort of clarity. Look, we can't be hearing from both of you. It's like a child having two parents, and one parent says yes, you can do this, and the other parent says no, you can't. We need clarity. We need uniformity. We need to know what the deal is. It says the bill would grant expanded authority to the CFTC to oversee crypto spot markets. It relies on the courts and the Securities Exchange Commission to set the boundaries for which tokens may be considered a commodity. So the problem is that we're trying to get this Bitcoin spot market. We want to be able to have these new ETFs, and they keep getting shot down. But they want to grant this to the CFTC as opposed to the SEC. It says right now there's really a patchwork of state regulators and no federal agency to conduct oversight over the cryptocurrencies. And we know that needs to change. And so that's exactly what they're trying to change. Now, it's not just in the United States they're trying to do this, as a matter of fact. We see this happening overseas as well. Of course, in Europe, the European Union, as well as the UK, they've been really trying to figure out what they want to do with cryptocurrencies as a category, trying to pass all types of new laws on the ways you can take custody of it and so many other things. But there's a new piece of news that came out this week as well, which says Law Commission of England from the UK proposes new form of property for Bitcoin. The proposal from England's Law Commission outlines a new form of property for digital assets and a framework for legal proceedings. And so what they're looking to do is something similar. They want to have a new category of property, which, remember, property would be a commodity, not a security, that encompasses digital assets such as Bitcoin. And it could change the way United Kingdom interacts with and recognizes Bitcoin. All right. And so they're trying to reform this legal structure. So again, we have these old, outdated laws, 100 years old, and it's trying to somehow come up with guidance or regulations on brand new technology that's neither of those things. Sure, it's kind of like this, yes, but it's also kind of like this, and it's also kind of like this, and I guess you could look at it that way, but you can also look at it this way. So it doesn't neatly fit into any one of these packages. And in my opinion, it's a massive mistake to try to regulate it with 100-year-old thinking because, again, we didn't even have the internet back then. We didn't have any type of communication back then, really, right? And so we didn't have the internet. We certainly didn't have new forms of communication that we have with the internet. We didn't have new forms of money, new forms of value, and we do today. The other problem that I have is trying to take those old regulations and try to apply them to brand new technologies is it boxes them in. So new technologies, like when electricity first came out, the first application of electricity was a light bulb. So electricity can only be a light bulb then. Well, can it also power my house, and could it also charge my vehicle? Nope, it's only for a light bulb. That's all it is. And so that's kind of what they're trying to do. They're trying to take this old, outdated thinking model 100 years ago and then apply it to a brand new technology that would then box it in and limit its potential. We don't know the full potential of what Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can do at this point. And we'd certainly like to find out. Now, they may not want to find out because they're afraid. We've seen Christine Lagarde come out and say that innovation is a threat, she said. Innovation is a threat to our financial stability. But we can see here in the United States, U.S. Senate bill is trying to redefine it, give it some clarity. The UK is doing the same thing, trying to, as they say, clarify a new form of property for Bitcoin. So I would love to see the government just stay out of it, but that's not the case.